So I'm not blaming the guys. Maybe there is something, maybe I am, you know, a little intimidating. Maybe I do have like an intimidating front that which scares guys away and makes them feel like maybe it's not worth it. Like I can approach her, but maybe I'm not gonna approach her because maybe it's not worth it. So a smile is a good start. And then, you know, just say hi, just not be weird about it, but just say, we are aware that a lot of Filipino women are perceived to be money girls, right? And we don't want to have that kind of impression. And so I guess that also affects how we approach them or the responses that we give to the advances.
How is it going, guys? I have Jenny here with me today. We're going to be talking about turtles. Let's go. So Jenny, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the channel.
Anything to save the turtles.
Anything to save the turtles. I told Jenny earlier, I thought she'd be wearing green for today, representing the turtles, maybe another time. So I recently had a video that we talked about cheetahs versus turtles. Guys, if you didn't watch the video, there'll be a link to it up here. You know, big picture, it was about how cheetahs and turtles are different types of Filipinas over here in the Philippines. Cheetahs tend to move kind of quick. You know, I love you and spending time and affection and so many other things often happen pretty quick. And then there's turtle Filipinas, where everything goes pretty slow. There's a bit of a protective shell there. Yeah. And so we had some interesting conversations about that. And I'm curious for you, you know, I just assume that you're a turtle, but you think that's fair?
So I do think, well, it's probably not the safest to assume if anybody's a cheetah or a turtle. But if you do ask me, and I was watching your video, just before I watched the video, I was also even thinking maybe I am a cheetah at the end of this. But, you know, just after watching the video, I realized that I am a turtle inside and out. So
Sure.
So that was the same assumption.
All right. So for you, what really makes a turtle?
Okay, so that's a tough question. I guess maybe I would classify myself a turtle because of the way I respond probably to men. You know, if somebody does come to me, my walls are up. Usually most of the time, I don't always think that's the best idea. Maybe there's a thing or two that I can learn from cheetahs, but yeah, that's like the norm. That's my almost automatic response. Like I wall up. Yeah, I don't know how to respond in a way that is friendly or maybe a little flirtatious. I also even think that I don't even know how to flirt. So I guess that really technically makes me a turtle.
Sure. So I think a lot of the guys watching the channel, and I got to say me included, most of the Filipinas that we come across in the Philippines tend to be more cheetahs. So, you know, I'm not saying that cheetahs are bad and turtles are good or vice versa, but I think a lot of foreigner guys would tend to think that things happen a little bit quickly with Filipinas, and that's because they're really coming across cheetahs. So why do you think that so many foreigners tend to encounter cheetahs and not so much turtles?
Well, maybe aesthetically, how the cheetah probably dresses, that's something that really catches their eyes easily, whereas a turtle would probably be dressed more conservatively, right? I don't know if that is something that foreign guys or guys are even attracted to, or if their eyes are even drawn to it. And another thing, maybe we do have like an aura about us. Either, you know, we may look like we're too busy. Like if I'm from the office, I'm walking around at the mall, and maybe I just have like a face that looks like I'm a woman on a mission, and I cannot be, you know, don't mess with me. Maybe I do have that, although unintentionally. I don't really want to have that intentionally, because of course, I mean, I would love for it if a guy does approach me. I may not know how to respond to it. Like, you know, in the best way. I can learn if somebody does approach me. But that is never the intention. Like when I go out and probably look like I'm too busy, my intention is never to like repel guys.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's what I said, that maybe there is a thing or two that we can learn from cheetahs while still maintaining our integrity as turtles.
Sure. So I think part of it with you, I mean, knowing you, I think you're a very friendly person, but you are a woman on a mission. You're a professional and have a lot of responsibility. And so I think part of that is probably a little bit on your face. Sometimes people tell me here that their first impression of me is that I'm strict. And that always surprises me because I don't feel strict on the inside. And I don't think people that know me normally think that, but also probably because I'm a man on the mission. I have a lot to get done like you do. But one thing that did surprise me is you said that you would want someone to approach you, or you would love that Is that really true? That almost surprises me.
Yes, because it never really happens. I think
Okay.
so this is personal though. I don't think this applies to all turtles. I'm sure there are a lot of turtles who get approached on and hit on quite constantly. But like, I think in my experience, in my like how many decades I've been on this earth, here in Cebu in particular, and working in the business area for like almost 2 decades, I've never really been approached, or maybe there's like 1 or 2, but never really approached. So I'm not blaming the guys. Maybe there is something that, you know, I'm like putting out there, the front that I'm intentionally putting out there that kind of makes me look like I'm a snapping turtle, you know, that I can bite or you know, and some friends have even theorized that maybe I am, you know, a little intimidating. Maybe I do have like an intimidating front, which scares guys away and makes them feel like maybe it's not worth it. Like I can approach her, but maybe I'm not going to approach her because maybe it's not worth it.
Sure. Well, I think, you know, if a guy sees a cheetah where it would probably be an easy interaction and probably not rejection, or a turtle that they might be more interested in, but there could be a high chance of rejection, they're probably going to go for
the cheetah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So if a guy wanted to approach a turtle, what advice would you give them?
So in business, there's always like that, like a prospecting, like, you know, when you're looking for business prospects, and one of the things that they do is find something in common. And I think that breaks walls down. Sort of like you're noticing a turtle and you see that, okay, maybe she's reading a book, but maybe it's a book that I've already read. Then I can approach her through that book and try to establish a connection there so that you already have that commonality. So it kind of breaks the walls down a little bit and maybe open up, you know, a conversation. That's always a good thing. A conversation is always a good thing. I think that's like a good start.
Okay. So I got to say, when I've seen women in the Philippines that I think it's probably a turtle, mostly they're looking like the woman on the mission and going somewhere. Maybe they're at Ayala Mall, maybe they're at a restaurant, and they just seem kind of busy. Or maybe they're with their family, or, you know, they always seem to kind of be in contexts that would probably be a little bit awkward for guys to approach. So what would you say in those type of situations?
Goodness, that's a very difficult question. Still thinking. So like in the context of family, that's not easy though.
Yeah, so probably just give it a pass, right?
No, you can say hi.
Okay.
I mean,
and then her dad is there. Like I've seen photos of your parents. They also look like
they're people on a mission. I was born in that family.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, you can just smile. I think, you know, a smile can win, can easily win. It can, you know, bring, they say that it produces oxytocin if you see somebody smiling face to face or even on camera. So a smile is a good start. And then, you know, just say hi. Just not be weird about it, but just say hi. You know, like, you know, how Filipinos are with their too, you know.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah. But so something like that, something friendly.
Sure.
That would be a good approach. Probably not go outright and say, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Sure.
Nothing like that, because that's going to creep them out. Because, I mean, you know, it's probably not even true. Or it could be true, but, you know, it might just end up freaking them out.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, maybe a compliment would be good. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
So I can think of one Filipina turtle that I know, and I haven't met many the entire time I've been in the Philippines, but she had this foreigner guy come up to her here in IT Park, and he complimented her on how she looked, and then he like kissed her hand. And I said, that's weird. And she felt like, is that normal? Maybe in 1953, that was normal. And I said, was he like a really old guy? She's like, no, he was, you know, a younger guy. So, I mean, I think there are just some things like that over here in the Philippines where Filipinos in general are really very slow to show like PDA and things like that as well. So
true. So even upon meeting, he's already offering PDA, kissing on the hand. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do that. No hand kissing, guys. So tell me more about what's going on inside of a turtle, because I think for a lot of people trying to understand a turtle is really complicated, because if you are a foreigner guy here and you meet a cheetah, they're really communicative, you know, with their words, with the actions. So you kind of know that they're interested. Maybe you don't know their motives, you know, why they're moving so fast, which, you know, seems contrary to Filipino culture, but at least you know that they're interested. With a turtle, that's not the case. So what's going on inside of a turtle, do you think, to go so slow? Is it because of culture? Is it because they have trauma in the past?
I think it's a combination of that. I think Turtles, especially the younger ones, they do have their families. Like they're always looking to their families. Is this going to be approved by my family?
Sure.
So they always run it through family. So I guess that's one of the reasons why they're slow at that point. When they get older, of course, they run into different experiences that may have broken them. Maybe they did experiment into becoming a cheetah at some point, and that kind of did not work, so well. And so they reverted to being a turtle. So they're like different ways as well. And I think as well that the back of the mind of a turtle, they are aware that, especially Filipinos, we are aware that a lot of Filipino women are perceived to be money girls, right? And we don't want to have that kind of impression. Like when we do go out and when we do talk to a foreign guy or even any guy for that matter, we don't want to be perceived as people who are asking for money. And so I guess that also affects how we approach them or like the responses that we give to the advances. So that's one thing. Like for me, I for one would not want for anybody to think that I'd be after their money.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think, there's big socioeconomic divide in the Philippines. I wouldn't say that all cheetahs maybe are struggling on this, economic side of it, but maybe a lot. But it does seem that money definitely plays into these type of things as well. Do you think that's the number one factor if somebody's going to be more of a cheetah or turtle, or do you think there's more going on there?
Maybe it is a factor, but maybe not. Like what you were saying earlier, not all cheetahs are out to get money. Maybe they are after, love. And their ways of doing things are just different from the turtle's way of doing things. And I've always been saying there's a thing or two that we can learn from each other. Like cheetahs can learn from turtles and turtles can learn from cheetahs as well. So I would not want to misjudge their intentions. But then again, it is up to the foreigner or the guy that, in order to discern what exactly the intentions are and not to fall prey to it if ever the intentions are really just money.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking with a good Filipino friend of mine, and he was telling me about how he met his wife and how slow the process was.
Oh, okay. So he met a turtle.
He met a turtle. And so he was telling me that for Filipino guys, that they really are attracted to a turtle, not to a cheetah, because he said that they feel like if they're slow, then they're going to be slow with everything. If they're fast, then they've probably not just been fast with them, but with who knows how many other guys, as well. So it seems for Filipino guys, they get the culture more. Foreigner guys, though, it's really different because I think, especially in Western cultures, women are at least going to give more, cues to things. Whereas, I mentioned to you before, with turtles in the Philippines, it feels like you're, it feels like you're walking in, a dark room with no lights and you're trying to find a small coin.
Correct.
You just don't know really where you stand with that type of person. So how would you say for foreigner guys, if they met a turtle and they had an interest in her, how would they know that she was also interested back?
Conversation. If they converse with you a lot, if they answer to your messages, if they, a lot of turtles are probably going to be like me who don't know how to flirt, but maybe the way that they're, constantly just responding to your messages or something like that, being friendly. I mean, and then they can also be even more friendlier. If that's actually their probably way of trying to flirt a little already. So, and then maybe that's an encouragement for the guys to, okay, I'll converse even more. I'll communicate with this girl even more. And then that's how it starts.
Sure. So what about you? What if you had met a guy and you were interested and you guys have been talking? Would you communicate with him, transparently if he asked what your feelings were towards him?
So I think for a turtle, in order to get to that space where they actually decide, that I like this guy, I'm going to, I'll probably do some changes in my life in order to accommodate this guy. It has to come to a certain level of trust. So if they do feel that this, relationship, whether it's a friendship or whatever, has come to that level, then I think it would be safe for them to also admit their feelings to the other guy. But it does take bravery. It's not just going to be you playing hard to get because they say playing hard to get is not the game that everyone's playing now. But at one point, you kind of have to, I've heard about this, you kind of have to give hints that you actually like the guy. Like in the olden times, they would drop their their handkerchief, right? In order to know that, they are available, they are looking, they're interested. So in one way, at one point or another, the turtle does need to own up to that if they want for the relationship to advance and if they want to have a committed relationship. So they would want to, we need to own up to it, to our feelings. Yeah.
So what does trust look like for a turtle?
So one would be consistency, like just knowing that, having the turtle know that you're not just in it because you want to try something out, but if in the process of trying it out, you realize that this is something I want to pursue and do it consistently, because that kind of leaves the inconsistency kind of makes the turtle even more confused. The hot and cold, the push and the pull, it actually can be like devastating physiologically for the heart. Like I speak from experience. But anyway, yeah, so it does, like it tends to, make us all worked up for nothing, right? So if the consistency is really helpful, and one of the ways that you can establish a consistency is communication. If you're communicating now, or let's say, for example, you're hanging out and there's like a really good communication there. And then when you're not hanging out, there's no communication at all. So I mean, where's that? There's no consistency in that, right? Sure. But one of the ways that you can grow the consistency is to communicate, whether you're together, whether you're hanging out, or whether you're not hanging out. And other things, what other things was I thinking about? I guess those are the main things, communication and consistency. Yeah, I'm sure I have it. I've written it somewhere down in my notes, one of the many group chats that I've created for myself over the years. But yeah, so those are the two things that I can think of.
So when I did the first video about, cheetahs versus turtles, a lot of the foreigner guys said, give me a cheetah. But I think part of that was because it's more concrete, it's more known. Of course, a lot of guys also said, give me a turtle. But when it comes down to it, I think a lot of foreigner guys kind of give up on turtles because of the unknown factor. For me, even, I would kind of prefer a turtle. So I really want somebody that is a turtle in terms of their character, who they are as a person. That's what I'm more attracted to. But however, it's really complicated when you don't know where that's headed or where it's going with things. So what do you think that a turtle could learn from a cheetah?
Maybe just, I'm not saying flirting outright, but even just not being confusing. Like if the way I'm carrying myself is already confusing to guys, having them even second guess, is this girl available? Does this girl want to be approached even? Then, because if not, then I'm not going to bother. That's probably what usually guys think. So maybe just having, like a friendly face, friendly enough to be, to not deter men, something like that. Yeah. So that's for one. And maybe like initial response, not even a flirtatious response, but just even friendly, so that we don't like clam up. If a guy approaches us, we don't really know what to do. We don't know what to say, like, and then the guy just goes, because that was an awkward a few seconds there in between.
Sure.
Right? So I remember one time I was in a coffee shop I was smiling. I don't know why I was smiling, but I almost bumped into this guy and he looked at me and I was smiling because I think I almost had an accident, something like that. And it was very awkward about it, but I was smiling. The point was I was smiling. He introduced himself to me and say like a compliment. I really like your necklace. I was wearing a necklace at that time. Sure. And it was a necklace that I made. So I'm like, thank you. I made this myself. And so we were lining up in the coffee shop and I remember this specifically because this is one of the few times when a guy actually approached me. So, and then I went and got my drink. He got his drink. And then, I went to my table and I was waiting for a friend. And then this was right before Valentine's Day. He came over to me and asked me if he could have dinner with me the next day. Right. But I did not know how to respond to that. I am not used to these types of questions. And then he said, oh, all right, thank you. And then he left. I'm like, I haven't even had the chance to say yes, but you already left. But so those kinds of, our first line of defense or our default mode is really just to clam up. So maybe learning how not to do that.
Sure.
And also encouraging the guys, if you're not getting a no just yet, don't give up. Like we probably have like a, resting face, the B resting face, like probably have that, especially when I'm going around the mall. Would I like a guy to approach me? Absolutely. I would love for a guy to approach me, but maybe my resting face isn't that welcome, that's that friendly at all. So maybe that's something that I need to learn too. Maybe a cheetah can teach me that, or maybe I could, practice it on by myself. But I'm sure that the cheetahs have other ways of doing things that makes them more approachable.
Sure.
That word, like be approachable. How does that even happen?
Yeah. So I guess what I'm just so curious about though is like, what is it inside of you that makes it maybe like slower for you to feel like maybe a cheetah was that might approach a guy or might be more open with feelings and all the rest? You know, is it how your parents raised you? Is it Filipino culture? Is it just being a busy professional? What is that?
No, it's really just the fear of rejection.
Really? That's
Yeah.
so interesting. But for me, talking with some Filipinas here that are more turtle, I feel like they're also carrying something where they feel like, no, a guy should do this and they should be X amount of months, you know, getting to know them and then X amount of months more until this stage and 30 years later they're married.
Oh.
Like I'm exaggerating
Right, yeah.
by a couple of years, but it feels like in their mind they have these kind of steps.
True.
Is that not culture? What is that makes them feel that it has to work that way?
Probably not so much culture. Because I think many women right now, Filipinos, are modern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not so much the culture, but more on about trust.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to that level of trust. Do they know the person enough to actually trust them? So and I think this is also what works against the foreign guys. I mean, as much as the foreign guys have like a perception that Filipinas are really just, you know, cheetahs or they're money girls, Filipinos would probably also question, why is that foreign guy here? Are they here to meet a lot of women, or are they here to really just meet one woman?
Sure.
So a lot of conversations need to happen in order to get to those answers. And even if in the very first answers that they give, they may say, no, I'm just here for you. But it does, you've heard stories and we've heard stories. We can't be playing stupid all the time and be naive to even really believe that in the first time that they're saying it. You kind of have to dig deep. So it takes more than just one conversation in order to get to a certain level of truth that you already established the trust. So
I think the challenging thing, so even for me as a foreigner, you know, I'm looking for a turtle. However, how do you know that that person is right for you? You know, so here I'll see women say, I date to marry, and I'm not here for fun. You know, there'll be these kind of slogans or cliche things that I'll hear sometimes from Filipinos here to say that I'm serious. I'm really looking to marry. And I get that, but I'm always kind of thinking as well when I hear people say things like that is, if you date somebody, how in the world can you possibly know that you would want to marry them if you just met them 5 seconds ago or even a month ago? It really, for me, that's the turtle in me. That's foreigner turtle. It takes time to really get to know somebody to know if they're a good match for you as, you know, a long-term partner. So I would go into meeting somebody hoping that that's where it would end up. But it also feels a little naive on the foreigner side of things for me to think that I could presume to know that that person would be a long-term relationship for me, or that I would be right for her long-term. For me, that really takes time and communication and doing life together and talking through things.
So I guess whether you do end up eating a cheetah or a turtle, that's a question that you have to kind of like answer in the long run, developing that friendship that turns into a relationship. Right. And it is going to be hard, though. Like you have common values. And if those values can be lived out in the same place, same geographic location at the same time.
I feel like this is something that I think about a lot because I'm just trying to understand the culture. And, you know, finding a long-term partner is something that's important to me. And so I wind up with more questions than answers. But one of these days, through the help of you know, people like yourself that help me kind of understand the culture more. Hopefully I will figure it out. Jenny, I appreciate so much you being willing to talk about this. I think there needs to be more conversations like this out there because I think too many foreigners do just think that all Filipinas are cheetahs. And of course, there's so much diversity over here in the Philippines. So appreciate your time. So guys, definitely appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Make sure and drop some questions and thoughts in the comments below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and take care.